Congratulations to the oldest club in the league. You deserve it, Notts, that's for sure. It's only March the 28th. No one else in football is celebrating today. They say it's the first time for 101 years that a title has been won in the month of March, and that this is the earliest ever. For the record, a 1-0 victory over Leyton Orient today, and the defeat of second-place Torquay at Scunthorpe has caused all this. Notts are champions, no one can take it away. They've taken 53 points out of the last 60. They've been top of the table for 15 weeks. Maybe it all goes back to the pre-season training that these players began last June, weeks earlier than usual. Certainly their stamina was a factor in turning them from a team who used to concede late goals into a team that scores them. It reflects great credit on manager Sam Allardyce, assistant manager Mark Smith and physio Roger Cleary. We've got most of the goals from this astounding season thanks to our friends at Central TV. We all know that the English season is a marathon, not a sprint, so we go back to August the 9th. Notts get the start they want thanks to Craig Dudley. The England under-18-year-old is fouled as he bears down on goal. Dudley needed attention before Mark Robson takes the penalty. There were no reputations to fear at this early stage, for all Rochdale knew they might be champions. Their equaliser came in the second half, a well-judged cross to the far post, headed in by Robbie Painter. The Notts winner is direct from a corner, Matthew Redmile heading home as keeper and defender get in each other's way. Just the tonic after relegation, a good start at home. Notts in their away blue start well. Matthew Redmile cleverly steers Dennis Pearce's free kick into the net. And there's a great move for the second goal. Devon White feeding Hendon. Hendon puts Derry away down the right. White makes a lot of ground to get on the end of the cross, to the delight of those travelling fans. White is again involved in the third. A deep clearance and inept defending enables him to put Gary Jones straight through. The first of many for Jones. This unpleasant game began in torrential rain. Ward couldn't hold the free kick. Al-Seed for Lincoln. Lincoln don't seem to care about getting wetter. The sun is out as County equalise. A low ball from Hendon finds Robinson running into space. Devon White is there to rifle home the cross. We then come to arguably the most controversial incident of the season at Meadow Lane. Holmes, the Lincoln midfield player, swings in a left-foot cross. Both Stant and Al-Seed seem obviously offside, but the goal is allowed to stand. Lincoln go in for another bizarre celebration, but it's all too much for a Notts fan. He runs onto the pitch to launch himself at the referee. Fortunately, a very rare example of fan misbehaviour at this stadium. At the end, the referee needs a police escort from the pitch as feelings run high. Fans were very unhappy about the sending off of Devon White, and they felt that the lack of an offside decision on what turned out to be the winning goal was a travesty. The first goal enables us to remember the lively winger Ricky Otto and his contribution early season. Otto, on loan from Birmingham, proved to be quite effective before being sidelined by severe injury. Here his free kick is headed in by Redmile. In the second half, Otto is again involved. A good cross which the keeper can't hold. Derry powers in for his first goal of the season. The points seem to be in the bag and some are on their way home when Scunthorpe get a late consolation. They attack down the right and Gary Strodder, in attempting to clear, can only head the ball into his own net. A week later and this local derby flares to life when Darren Ward is judged to have brought down Steve Whitehall. What a save from Doolan's penalty. They say things even themselves out in football, and perhaps Gary Martindale is just a shade offside as he coolly gets the winner. Notts are already on a useful little run of 4 league games undefeated when they go to Gay Meadows Shrewsbury, another of last season's relegated sides. However, Shrewsbury take the lead through right-back Nathan Blamey. He might have been attempting a cross to the far post. Maybe that's uncharitable. It's in anyway. You have to be quick to spot the Notts equaliser. That was it from Gary Jones. The second comes when a long clearance from Pearce is headed down by a defender. Finnan says thank you very much, takes the ball forward and hits a superb 25-yard drive into the net. Notts celebrate as Shrewsbury look glum. 2 more fine goals coming up, the first for Darlington, though it could so easily have been a chance for Notts. Jones almost puts a teammate through, but play switches to the other end. And suddenly here's Roberts. Straight from the kick-off, Notts are level. Craig Dudley certainly means business here. The goal against Macclesfield is a good example of how Notts can build something out of nothing. It seems that the visitors are going to attack. But an intervention by Strodder finds Jones. He feeds Otto with a crossfield pass, and Otto's first-time ball finds Ian Richardson running into space. A very useful goal from Richardson, a midfield player at that stage in the season. An excellent set-piece goal for Swansea. Centre-back Christian Edwards arriving late, yet unstoppably, to meet a corner. Notts have to wait until the second half to get back into the game, and it's all down to Steve Finnan. He intercepts a Swansea pass and goes out wide, and clips in a centre to the far post for Jones. Just see how well Finnan picks him out, and how far back Jones has dropped off to escape the defence. The 77th minute Notts winner is a vital goal from new signing Justin Jackson after the central defenders miss Ward's long clearance. A Tuesday night in Rotherham. We find skipper Ian Hendon bursting forward, a 1-2 with Mark Robson, and Farrell gets his second goal of the season. In return for his audacity, Hendon picks up a head injury, but he is able to carry on. Rotherham's late equaliser comes from a right-wing cross, neatly glanced in by the unmarked Andy Hayward. We find left-back Dennis Pearce looking in great form here. A dangerous cross to the far post puts Cambridge in all kinds of trouble. Sean Derry is following up, and it's a winner from the Jones boy. Now to Underhill, where the first goal rises out of nothing. There's no danger, is there, as Strodder brings the ball out. Oops. Scott McLeish for Barnet. Robson and Finnan conjure up a short corner. Farrell heads on, and Barraclough gets the equaliser. This turns out to be a good performance by the Magpies against a Barnet side who have strong promotion aspirations themselves. This long clearance is missed by the left back, and it proves costly. Finnan somehow gets in a cross, and Derry fires home an unstoppable volley. November the 4th, but little mischief from Notts. They do, however, take the lead. Gary Strodder is up for the corner. He forces the ball home. But an unbeaten league run of 12 games is to come to a sorry end here. Chester turned up with shirts that clashed, so they had to borrow last season's Notts away strip. There were no favours in return. A clever flick puts McDonald through for their equaliser. Nothing sophisticated about the Chester winner. A long punt from the goalkeeper is missed by the defence, which leaves Bennett with just Ward to beat. Four days later, and Notts fall to another sucker punch. Ex-boxer Steve Flack putting Exeter ahead. The Notts equaliser comes in the second half from Robson's corner. Derry heads it down. Strodder lashes in a very good shot for what looks like a striker's goal. Colwyn Bay of the Unibond League are the next visitors. Notts take the lead with Graham Hogg's header, his only goal in a season which saw him transferred to Brentford. This FA Cup first round tie played on a Sunday to avoid clashing with certain neighbours. Another nicely flighted corner from Steve Finnan. Ian Richardson gets the second. At Layer Road, Colchester, County were desperately close early on. Justin Jackson's effort cleared in the nick of time. In the second half of a tough battle, Colchester press again, and centre-forward Mark Sale puts them ahead. Perhaps the Magpies' poorest display of the season, not helped by a coach breakdown en route and 2 early misses. A lesson here in how to make something out of a throw-in. Robson helps it into the path of Barraclough, who hits a good deep cross. And Sean Farrell rises magnificently. The Leyton Orient equaliser comes from a free kick. In the goalmouth scramble, Jason Harris is the marksman. Notts are 4th and Posh 2nd at the time of this promotion battle, and Posh score first. But Notts reply splendidly. A great ball to Finnan, and his centre invites Jones to score. There's Premier Division quality about the goal that gave Notts the lead. An exquisite chip from Mark Robson. Peterborough got their point from a disputed penalty. Strodder was judged to have fouled Gregory. Jimmy Quinn scored from the spot. A midweek game in the eerie atmosphere of Brighton's borrowed ground. Finnan gets in a cross. The tackling of Phil Robinson is decisive. Sean Farrell quickly accepts the chance. Notts' unbeaten run has begun. FA Cup round 2, and how about this 30-yarder from Preston's David Ayres? Notts have ideas of their own. Finnan equalises against a keeper way out of position. Second half, and a fine through ball for Preston's Lee Ashcroft. But you can't keep Derry down. That means a replay. The demolition of poor Doncaster begins with Ian Hendon's long ball to Steve Finnan. Finnan pulls the ball back. There's no cover as Barraclough arrives. The second goal perhaps has its origins in this telling off for Farrell and Utley, the Doncaster centre-half. The referee is plainly in the mood to spot everything. When the free kick comes in, he sees some shirt tugging that no one else notices. It's a penalty. 7 Doncaster players want to know why, but it's all to no avail. Barraclough gets his second. Barraclough is also involved in the move that leads to the third goal. Finnan helps it on to the overlapping Hendon. The cross is too much for poor Doncaster. It's a hopeless own goal by Utley. Doncaster pull one back though. This tackling escapes the referee's attention, and the cross is hit home by Pell. In the second half, there's a splendid fourth for Notts. A great ball inside the full-back from Redmile. Steve Finnan's in. He takes the chance well. Notts unveil another new line in celebrations. Poor work by the visiting goalkeeper leads to another for Notts. Robinson is able to find Jones. The shot spills from the keeper's hands. It's easy for Farrell. Late in the game, the referee sees a push in the penalty area, and it's a rather unnecessary penalty for Doncaster. But Notts are now top of the table. The Magpies go out of the FA Cup in extra time, but here's their goal. Jones manages to turn the defence. Finnan weaves his way through. Farrell poaches the goal. Notts' first comes from a throw-in. Eventually, Jones flicks on to Farrell. The choreography of the celebrations gets better too. This wasn't a top-of-the-table clash at the time. Torquay was some way behind Notts, yet to hit their best form. It's the shortest day of the year, and in the gloom of their own lights, the home defence is caught out. Martindale intervenes. Finnan takes advantage, and Farrell is there again. Deeply satisfying for the away fan far from home. Notts are first to 4,000 league games, and Sean Derry is first to the ball. Farrell heads on for Jones to score. Another midfield player with an eye for goal is Phil Robinson. Rochdale pull one back with a diving header from their own Farrell. Robson's corner, headed straight in by Robinson, gets Notts off to a good start in front of ex-players from yesteryear. There's a well-worked Cardiff equaliser, a first-time shot from Mark Harris going in off the post. But Notts are not the kind of side to let that sort of thing worry them. Robson and Finnan are pressing. But it's Sean Derry who bursts through with a determined run, enabling Robson to feed Jones. And what a finish! The third goal is all to do with the control of Jones. From Ward's long clearance, he kills the ball first time and takes full advantage of the chance he has created for himself. Lowly Hull played better than many thought capable, but were undone by this magnificent leap from Ian Richardson. 8 wins on the trot, 3 more priceless points, and a club record in sight. To Sincil Bank, and Notts are quickly ahead through Sean Farrell. Redmile's long clearance. To Robinson. To Barraclough against his old club. Free kick comes in. Robinson. Farrell shoots. Redmile. Strodder. However, Notts don't get it all their own way. One that Darren Ward would rather forget. Lincoln, noted for their aerial tactics, then come up with a rare goal along the ground. And there's disbelief when they pull back to 3-3 through Steve Brown. However, 1 minute later, Notts lead again. Farrell to Jones. And there's a wacky finish to a remarkable derby. Against Jones's bottom, he gets the pain but not the pleasure as Farrell nicks the chance. Going for a club record, Barraclough, Farrell, Jones, the strikers both eluding their markers in that move. Trouble off the ball between Hendon and Christie. Oh dear. In full view of the referee, for Christie, the inevitable red card. Gary Jones cutting in confirms the 10th consecutive win. Notts hit 65 points, 13 ahead. These things can't go on forever in professional football. Shrewsbury are way down the table, but experiencing a revival. Great trickery from Lee Steele. He gets to the Matthews position, and that's Hanmer for the visitors. Notts' late equaliser not available to us. Skill isn't enough on its own. In the 3rd division, you have to battle. That's what's going on here. Strodder and Robinson competing to enable Finnan to use his skill. And Jones instinctively knows where the net is. His 17th of the season, much appreciated by the travelling supporters. The second comes direct from a free kick by Steve Finnan. No wonder he's popular. It's not so far back to Nottingham, not after a record 7th consecutive away win. Jones is injured, so Tony Lormer, ex-Lincoln and Chesterfield, arrives on loan from Preston. Lormer involved here. Pearce crosses, Lormer again against the bar, and Farrell gets the only goal of the game. This Tuesday night was amazingly the 16th league game without defeat, a club record. It incorporates another fine goal from Gary Jones. A ball by Barraclough is headed on by Farrell, and Jones is powerful enough to hold off the defender and force the ball under the goalkeeper. The other talking point here is this foul on Finnan. It leads to the sending off of the Swansea player for his 2nd bookable offence. Two long unbeaten runs at stake here. Macclesfield have a home record going back nearly 18 months. Somebody has to give way. John Askey puts Macclesfield ahead. There's misfortune for Notts in the case of the 2nd goal. An attempted clearance hits an opposition player, and Wood is put through when Notts are least expecting to be attacked. But 3 nights later, Notts step out in their away blue at St James's Park, Exeter, and get back to winning ways, hitting 5 for the 3rd time this season, 2 of them in the first 10 minutes. Exeter are mid-table, having figured in the promotion places earlier in the season. It's raining heavily and gusting into Exeter faces. After 7 minutes, Robson looks into his bag of tricks and comes up with this, in off the far post. Hughes then passes to Hendon and runs into a good position to take the return. He pulls the cross back low, a good idea on a slippy pitch. Farrell says thank you as the right back slips. A significant moment in the Notts defence just afterwards. This saving header by Hendon. From the corner, an Exeter effort is cleared off the line. The home side were never in it again. The third goal again shows the great teamwork that's been such a characteristic of Notts' season. Five players have been involved before Farrell shoots. The only touch poor Exeter get is the one that deflects it past the helpless Ashley Bayes. Exeter do get one back before half-time. Rowbottom's shot goes under Mike Pollitt. The rain is still teeming down in the second half. A poor clearance goes to Robinson. He plays a simple ball to Mark Robson, who puts a short pass into the intelligent run by Farrell. His shot is blocked, but Jones beats three defenders and Bayes to the rebound. Exeter get a second. This leaping header by Clark goes into the far corner. But the home side, now with two subs on, are in dire defensive trouble once more. Barraclough puts Jones through a defence that's wide open. After this, Notts players really do believe that this is their season. Notts' incredible form has carried them to 78 points, and they are clear leaders of the division. Barnet are one side who might catch them, but Jones gets his 20th. Jones is involved in the second half too. He centres for Hughes on loan from Oldham, but soon to join, to score his first goal for the club, and he's delighted. Andy Hughes' long throw, flicked on by Farrell, for Jones to poach a very late winner. A reward for all the hard work in training, for Notts' fitness and endurance had been questioned here all afternoon by a positive Chester side. Nothing can stop Notts now. It's when, not if. This might have been promotion day, depending on other results, but Colchester had promotion ambitions of their own. How did Mark Sale miss that? Chances for Notts are few and far between, but Jones did force one good save. Colchester were always in it and brought more athleticism from Darren Ward in the second half. They call this sort of thing an anti-climax. Gary Jones always fancies himself, but Orient are making a game of it. And they force a fine save from Darren Ward. Notts were better in the second half, and what happened on 50 minutes somehow seemed preordained. Robinson competing as always, making room for Mark Robson. No tension about him, it's a fine goal. You get the idea, it was just a little bit special. County are in new yellow Champions shirts supplied by their kit company. At last they're on Sky TV's Friday night special. This was by no means a hangover performance, and Dyer perhaps should have scored on 20 minutes. Jones hasn't scored for 2 whole games, goodness, and isn't far out here. But Peterborough were desperate to revive their own promotion hopes. Carruthers close, The winner is from Steve Castle after 78 minutes. We'll conclude with the league table from the night that mattered, March the 28th, where we see that no one can reach Notts in pole position with 6 games left, and we hear the reactions from the key personalities in the club that night.
Yeah, fantastic. We had the scores filtered through to us about Scunthorpe beating Torquay, and of course we had to hang on for long periods today because it really had to go. But a superb goal from Mark Robson got us 1-0 up, and the defenders and Darren Ward defended extremely well. Always a difficult game on an occasion like this, but we've not only won the promotion, we've actually won the championship in March. I don't think anybody will ever beat that in the history of football. Thought it was different class. And you did it in front of your fans, which you wanted to do. Yeah, fantastic today. We were really well supported. They were singing right from the off all the way through. Hope they enjoyed the game. We are, and we're going to have a great night, and we've got a great celebration, and we can really enjoy it over the next few weeks and into the summer. Fantastic. Derek Davis, Mr. Chairman, enjoy your drink. You've deserved that, haven't you?
Thank you, yes. It was water last season.
Yeah,
we had a disaster last season.
What a difference.
What a contrast. Yes.
Yeah, Sam Allardyce done a fantastic job for you.
Yes, he has. Yes. But, you know, halfway, when he joined us in January, we went 23 games last season and we only won 2. What a contrast, the close season, mate.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
It's a great feeling today. We've had a good crowd and the atmosphere's been fantastic, and I think it's the earliest the team's ever been promoted in history, so it makes it even better.
You've been through this all before, but how does this compare? It's been a super season.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. We've never been so cut and dry so early on, and you know, we've been able to relax a little bit and really enjoy the day rather than worrying too much about points.
Yeah, and what about the manager? I mean, he's been a great driving force, hasn't he?
That's right, yeah, he's been superb. He's turned a team that got relegated last season into a team that's got promoted so early, so, you know, we're all delighted.
Yeah, from a footballing point of view, can you put your finger on the difference from last year?
Well, we always played well last year. It's funny to say, we got relegated. We knew we'd do well. It's good team spirit. Everybody's organised, and the lads just love playing, and you know, it's just a fantastic season. We're chuffed a bit.
Do you feel that you can keep the nucleus of the side together for next year and go on to better things?
Well, we've sold a couple of players and we've managed to continue winning, so I think this bunch of players will stick together, and hopefully we'll get promotions back to back like we did when I was here before.
Well done. Enjoy all your celebrations.